Hi, I'm an average chess player, and as you may suppose, this channel is to talk about chess. That said, let's get into it. The first thing I would like to do is to show you a pair of games of mine. And this is a game I've played a pair of days ago. I'm playing with white. I started with e4, then e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop v5. This is the Ruy Lopez opening. Maybe I'll do a video about it. d4, bishop d7 to protect the knight, and do not use the pawn to take the bishop after he takes and break your pawn structure. Then I played d5, continuing the idea of expanding into the center. Knight went back and I exchanged bishops. Then castled, knight a6, but I think it's better knight on c6 because you have more squares available to attack. When knight a6, you have just two squares and then the square from where you came. c3 to prevent the knight from advancing, h5, b4 to prevent the knight advance, then he castled, a4 continuing to push on that side, king b8, knight a3, c6, bishop e3 putting some pressure on this pawn, knight f6, bishop b5 to pin this knight to the rook, bishop e7 defending the knight and preventing the pin. So this knight now is free to go here, takes, rook b1 continuing to put pressure, knight c7, b5, c5, c4, b6, rook b1 followed by c2, this was the idea, g5, queen d2 connecting the rooks, g4, knight e1, h4, g3, we exchanged pawns. Now my rook's column is free, plus I'm threatening the bishop, bishop e7, and I take the f7 pawn. Rook f8 proposing an exchange, which I accepted. Knight d3, knight e8, rook f1, knight f6, queen e2 defending the pawn, knight h5 trying to infiltrate into my position. Rook trade, knight f2, knight f6, knight c2 trying to get into the game the other knight, bishop h6, queen d3, bishop c1. I don't know which was his idea, but knight e3 because I wanted to hunt down that bishop. He didn't want to lose his bishop for nothing, so we exchanged the knight and bishop, queen h7 doubling the attack on the pawn, queen e2 to both defend and attack, queen g6 to do the same thing, king g2, king b7, king h1 because I didn't know what to do and I just wanted him to move, hoping for a blunder, h6, king g2, we exchanged pawns, queen g5 trying to get into my position, h3 proposing an exchange, he accepted, then queen went back, knight as well, knight h5 doubling the attack on the pawn in front of the king, queen e3 defending that weakness, then knight f4 check because I cannot take with the pawn, and if I take with queen, he takes with pawn. King f1 getting away from check and the pin in order to take his knight, he went back, king g2, and here the position was completely locked, maybe going for a draw, which I was completely fine with because my rating was of 1331, which is one of the highest ratings I've ever obtained. But it seems he wasn't okay with a draw, so he went knight g7 out of nowhere, giving me the opportunity to push my pawn in order to prevent this and this, after getting my king out of the pin. King c7 gave me the opportunity to continue with my idea, king f1, knight e8, which I didn't understand at all, and I tried to attack on the other side with queen a3, king b7, queen a6 check, king c7, queen a7 check, king c8, I took a pawn, queen f6, which from my point of view is useless because it just loses a tempo, queen c6 check, king b8, queen takes knight with check, king a7, queen d7 check, king b6 and queen c6 check, trying to drive away the king because after this and some random move, it's checkmate. Instead he went king a7, b6 check, king b8, queen c7 check, king a8, and queen a7 checkmate. At first, my idea was to make another queen, but then things turned out differently, but we're happy with it anyway. The second game I want to show is maybe one of the best games I've ever played. I sacrificed a queen, I did 5 great moves, yes, I analyzed it. I ended up mating my opponent without doing any major blunder, so which better occasion to show to someone this game? This time I'm playing with black. At first, e4, e5, bishop c4, knight c6, both developing our pieces. d3, bishop c5, a3, a6. Very common starting position. h3, knight f6, getting ready for a castling. Bishop g5, which I hate because it pins that knight to the queen, but I castled anyway. Knight c3, getting more pieces into the center. h6, trying to drive away that bishop, which worked. Bishop h4, bishop e7, defending in the same way as my opponent did in the last game. Takes, bishop d5, d6, takes, knight f3 and d5, trying to provoke him and to undouble those pawns. He didn't take the bait, so queen e2, d4, knight e4, rook b8, attacking both the pawn and preventing the knight from doing this. He pushed the pawn and I went with queen on d6, preventing this, which didn't look like a threat at first sight, but I decided to prevent it anyway. Knight b2, bishop e6. He castled and I pushed the pawn on c5, solidifying my position. He did the same thing with a5, bishop e7, a5, and that pawn becomes suddenly a weakness. f5, trying to find a pawn break. Successfully, I'd say. But I didn't notice this, which is defended by the queen. Rook a8, seeing this fork later. f4, bishop f6, g4, and I ran away on d7 because I didn't want to disconnect the rooks. Bishop e6 doesn't work too because of the pawn push. Queen g2 with the idea maybe later of using this knight as a bait in order to make this rook move and then take with check. But c6, knight c4, queen c7 running away from the knight. Rook e1, bishop e6 trying to simplify the game, getting some pieces off the board. Knight g6, rook f8 and then knight b6. Rook on d8, then f5 and bishop f7. Rook strayed, queen f2 and rook e3 infiltrating my rook, trying to go for a mate. Queen f4 proposing an exchange, but no thanks because I'm well defended here. So he goes back. Rook g3 check, and because you don't want to sacrifice this queen, king h1. At this point I thought of something so beautiful, I don't know from where it came, maybe it was an enlightenment. Queen sacrifice on b6. Obviously it takes, because which insane person doesn't take a queen for a knight? The point of this queen sacrifice is that I was not able to give this check because of this knight, so I just took it. So bishop d5 and king g2, rook f3 with a discover check and king g1, rook g3 going back to my footsteps because it didn't look like a good idea that rook f3, king h2 again, double check with rook and bishop, king h1 forced, rook takes queen with discover check and this is forced, rook g2 check, king h1, and there was a mate with this, but obviously I didn't see it. Instead I played rook h2 check, followed by king g1, rook g2 check, forcing the king on h1 again, rook takes c2 with discover check, king g1 and checkmate. I don't have anything else to say, just wow. I mean, I did 3 mistakes, 3 blunders, I missed a maybe one, but at least that queen sacrifice wasn't for nothing. For today is all. If you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. See you next time.